The national average price of gas just hit $3.48 a gallon. 2 weeks ago, it was under $3. That's a 50-cent jump in 14 days. And if you're watching this thinking, well, at least the news said oil prices came back down, I need you to understand something. The damage is already done. It's already in the mail, and by the time you feel it, you won't even know what hit you. Because what happened over this past weekend wasn't just a headline. Oil spiked to nearly $120 a barrel. For context, the last time crude oil got anywhere close to that number was 2022, right before inflation hit 9.1% and obliterated the buying power of every working American in this country. And here's the part that should genuinely scare you. In 2022, it took exactly 3 months from the oil spike to the worst inflation reading in 40 years. 3 months. We are now sitting at the starting line of that exact same pattern. My name is Felix, and I create easy-to-understand animated videos about personal finance. If that's something that interests you, consider subscribing. Now, most people hear oil prices spiked, and they think about one thing: gas. That's it. They see the number at the pump go up, they wince, they fill the tank, and they move on with their day. But gas is the visible cost. It's the part of the iceberg you can see above the water. What I'm about to break down for you is the part underneath. The part that's 3 times bigger, completely invisible, and already silently draining your bank account. I call this the 9-0 day delay trap. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why a 48-hour oil spike that the media already forgot about is going to quietly steal thousands of dollars from your household over the next 3 to 6 months. Even if oil never touches $120 again. We're going to cover the visible tax you already know about, the 3 invisible taxes you don't, and the specific math on what this actually costs a household earning $84,000 a year. And then I'm going to give you the exact steps to protect yourself before the wave hits. Let's start with what everyone already sees: the pump. The average American drives about 12,200 miles per year. That's roughly 41 miles a day just getting to work and back. The average vehicle on the road today gets about 25 miles per gallon. So you're burning roughly 488 gallons of gas a year just on your daily existence. Now here's the rule that petroleum economists have tracked for decades. Every $10 increase in the price of a barrel of crude oil translates to roughly a 25-cent increase per gallon at the pump. Simple formula. $10 a barrel, quarter at the pump. Before the Iran conflict started in late February, Brent crude was sitting around $70 a barrel. That was the baseline. On Sunday, March 9th, it briefly smashed through $120. That's a $50 jump. 50 divided by 10 times 25 cents per gallon. That's a $1.25 increase baked into your gas price. And that's exactly what happened. Gas went from under $3 to $3.48 almost overnight. Some states are already over $4. California is sitting at $5.20. So let's do the direct math. If you're burning 488 gallons a year and your price per gallon just went up by roughly $1, that's an extra $488 a year straight out of your pocket, just for gas. That's $40 a month. And for most people, that's where the thinking stops. But we're only at the tip of the iceberg. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Oil isn't just what goes in your car. Oil is what moves everything. Every single product you buy at a grocery store, on Amazon, at Target, at Walmart, it got there on a diesel truck. And I mean everything. 73% of all freight in America moves by truck. 73%! And every single one of those trucks runs on diesel. Now, diesel fuel makes up between 30 and 50% of a trucking company's total operating costs. It's their single biggest variable expense. When oil spikes, diesel spikes. When diesel spikes, the cost of moving every physical product in this country spikes with it. But it gets worse, because the shipping industry doesn't just eat that cost and hope for the best. They have a mechanism for passing it directly to you. It's called a BAF, a bunker adjustment factor. It's a fuel surcharge that shipping companies add to every single shipment based on the current price of crude oil. And it updates almost in real time. So when oil hit $120 a barrel on a Sunday night, every shipping contract in America that was being negotiated, signed, or renewed that week had the $120 price baked into the freight cost. Even though oil dropped back to $86 by Monday afternoon, those contracts were already signed. The goods that were loaded onto trucks and container ships during that 48-hour panic window are now traveling across the country at the peak rate, and those costs get passed directly to retail. I call this the petro-premium. It's the invisible markup on every product you buy that exists purely because oil made something more expensive to transport, manufacture, or package. And you never see it on a receipt. There's no line item that says oil surcharge. It just shows up as your cereal costing $5.49 instead of $4.99. It shows up as your Amazon order being $6 more expensive than it was last month. It shows up everywhere, and it adds up to a lot more than you think. Let me put this differently. The average piece of food in an American grocery store has traveled 1,300 miles to get to that shelf. Fresh produce travels even further, over 1,500 miles. That's 1,300 miles on a diesel truck, or a diesel train, or a diesel ship. Every single mile of that journey just got more expensive. And it's not just the transportation. Oil is a physical ingredient in the food system. The fertilizer that grows the crops, made from natural gas and petroleum. The pesticides that protect the harvest, petroleum-based. The plastic packaging that wraps your chicken breast, your cereal box liner, your milk jug, all petroleum. When crude oil goes up, the cost of growing the food goes up, the cost of packaging the food goes up, and the cost of shipping the food goes up. It's a triple tax on every single item in your grocery cart. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Felix, but oil came back down. So won't prices just go back to normal? And this is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. No, they will not. And here's the historical proof. In March of 2022, crude oil spiked to $130 a barrel because of the Russia-Ukraine war. The price came back down relatively quickly. But inflation didn't peak until June 2022. 3 months later, at 9.1%, the worst inflation reading in over 40 years. 3 months of lag, the spike was temporary. The damage was not. This isn't a theory. This is the exact pattern that has repeated every single decade for the last 50 years. In 1973, the oil embargo quadrupled prices. Grocery costs rose 25% within 8 months. In 2008, oil hit $147 a barrel in June. The financial system buckled by September. In 2022, oil hit $130 in March. CPI peaked at 9.1% in June. The mechanism is always the same. Oil spikes. Companies sign new shipping and supply contracts at the spiked price. Those contracts run for 30 to 90 days. The higher costs work their way through the supply chain. And 2 to 3 months later, you're paying more for groceries, more for utilities, more for every manufactured product. And you have no idea why because the oil headline already disappeared from the news. That's why I call it the 90-day delay trap. The spike is the bullet. The 90-day delay is the time it takes for the bullet to reach your wallet. And by the time it arrives, you've already forgotten a shot was fired. Now let me show you exactly what this costs. Let's meet a household we'll call the Nguyens. 2 working professionals, combined household income of $84,000 a year. That's roughly the median U.S. household income. Sounds decent, right? They should be okay. Let's watch what happens. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare, their $84,000 becomes roughly $64,000 in take-home pay. That's about $5,333 per month landing in their bank account. Here's their monthly budget before the oil spike. Rent, $1,600. That leaves $3,733. 2 car payments, $700. Car insurance, $220. Down to $2,813. Groceries, $500. Now $2,313. Utilities, electricity, gas, heat, water, $350. Leaves $1,963. Internet and phone plans, $200 down to $1,763. Gas for 2 cars, $280. Now $1,483. Student loan payments, $350. That's $1,133. Minimum credit card payments, $150. $983 left. For clothing, entertainment, haircuts, kids' activities, medical copays, car maintenance, cleaning supplies, pet food, and the psychological need to occasionally leave the house and pretend you have a life. $983. Now, let's watch what happens when the 900-day delay trap kicks in. First, gas. Their two-car household was spending about $280 a month on fuel. With gas up $1 per gallon, they're now spending roughly $380. That's an extra $100. $983 minus $100 equals $883. Still breathing. Barely. Second, groceries. Research shows that a 25% increase in crude oil prices adds $150 to $200 per year in grocery costs for a family. But oil didn't go up 25%. It went from $70 to $120. That's a 71% increase. Even if we're conservative and say the embedded food cost increase is proportional, we're looking at roughly $400 to $500 more per year. That's an extra $35 to $40 per month on groceries, just to buy the same food. $883 minus $40 equals $843. Third, utilities. The U.S. average electricity bill is $163 per month. The average natural gas heating bill runs about $112 per month during winter. Oil price spikes directly impact electricity generation and natural gas prices. During the 2022 spike, utility bills jumped 12 to 15% within months. Apply a conservative 10% bump. That's $28 more per month. $843 minus $28 equals $815. The Amazon and retail markup. The petro premium. The Nguyens, like the average American household, spend roughly $225 a month on Amazon and general online shopping. Every one of those products was manufactured using petroleum-based energy, packaged in petroleum-based materials, and shipped on a diesel-burning truck. When oil spikes 71%, industry data shows consumer product prices rise by 1.5 to 3% within a quarter. On $225 a month, that's an extra $5 to $7. Small, right? But add in their in-store purchases at Target, Walmart, and pharmacy trips, which for a median household runs another $300 a month. Another $6 to $9 there. Let's call the total Petro Premium $15 a month. $815 minus $15. Now let's add it all up. Gas, plus $100 per month. Groceries, plus $40 per month. Utilities, plus $28 per month. The Petro Premium on retail, plus $15 per month. Total hidden tax from the oil spike, $183 per month. That's $2,196 per year. And I am not done yet, because that $2,196 per year assumes oil stabilizes and prices slowly normalize. But here's what actually happens. During the 2022 oil spike, even after crude came back down to $80, consumer prices never fully returned to pre-spike levels. The pricing ratchet effect kicked in. Companies raised prices because of the oil spike, and when oil came down, they kept the higher prices because consumers had already adjusted. So that $2,196 isn't a one-time hit. It becomes permanent base cost inflation baked into your life. Remember the Nguyens? They had $983 left over each month. After the 90-day delay trap, they have $800. That's their entire margin. And we haven't touched car repairs, medical copays, a child's birthday gift, their dog needing a vet visit, or a single unexpected expense. Here's what that actually feels like day to day. It feels like checking your bank account before buying groceries and putting something back on the shelf. It feels like splitting a dinner bill with friends and quietly panicking about the extra $12. It feels like the check engine light coming on and your first thought being, how much is in checking, instead of where's the nearest mechanic. It feels like being one car breakdown away from putting $800 on. A credit card you're already paying minimum on. It feels like watching the news say oil prices fell today and wondering why nothing in your life feels cheaper. And this is where it gets really important to hear this. This is not your fault. You didn't cause an oil spike. You didn't start a conflict in the Middle East. You didn't decide that 73% of American freight should move on diesel trucks. You didn't design a food system where your apple travels 1,500 miles on petroleum before it reaches your lunch bag. The system is built this way, and nobody in the system, not the shipping company, not the grocery chain, not the gas station, not the utility company, has any incentive to tell you how much you're actually paying, because they're all passing the cost downstream. And you are downstream. You are where the river ends. Now you might be thinking, okay, Felix, so what am I supposed to actually do about this? That's the most important question. And I'm going to give you specific actionable steps. Step 1. This week, fill up your gas tank today and top it off every time you pass $3.50. Gas prices lag crude by 7 to 14 days. What you're seeing at the pump right now is based on oil prices from a week ago. The $120 spike contracts haven't fully hit retail yet. Lock in current prices while you can. Step 2. This month, audit your grocery spending and swap at least 20% of your purchases to store brand alternatives. Store brands are manufactured and packaged domestically with shorter supply chains, which means lower embedded petro premium. The average household saves $1,200 to $1,500 a year by switching to store brands. That alone can offset the oil tax. Step 3. This month, call your utility company and ask to be placed on a budget billing plan. This locks in a flat monthly payment based on your last 12 months of usage, which means the upcoming utility spike gets averaged out instead of hitting you with a $250 bill in June. Step 4. This quarter, take the $183 per month you now know is being silently stolen, and redirect even half of it, $90 a month, $1,080 a year, into an investment account. Because here's the opportunity cost that nobody is doing the math on. If you take that $1,080 per year and invest it at a 7% return, in 20 years that becomes over $44,000. That's $44,000 that the oil industry, the shipping industry, and the grocery industry are currently extracting from your future. And they're counting on you being too distracted by the gas price to notice the rest. Step 5, starting now, reduce your exposure to oil price volatility permanently. This doesn't mean buying a Tesla. It means finding one recurring petroleum cost in your life and eliminating it. Carpool to work 3 days a week and you cut your gas bill by 30%. That's $100 a month you permanently control. Batch your errands into one trip instead of 5. Cook at home 2 more nights a week instead of ordering delivery, which has its own embedded diesel surcharge on every meal. Each of these steps alone is small. Combined, they build what I call a petro-shield, a layer of financial insulation between your household and the next time the global oil market decides to have a panic attack. Because this will happen again. It happened in 1973, 1979, 1990, 2008, 2022, and now 2026. The average gap between major oil shocks is about 7 years. The question isn't if the next one is coming, it's whether you'll be standing with a shield or standing with nothing. So let's come back to where we started. Gas just jumped 50 cents in 2 weeks. The news showed the oil chart going up and then coming back down, and most people breathed a sigh of relief and went back to scrolling. But you now know something most people don't. You know about the 90-day delay trap. You know that the contracts are already signed. You know that the shipping surcharges are already baked in. You know that groceries, utilities, and every product on every shelf in every store in this country is about to get quietly, invisibly more expensive over the next 3 months. And more importantly, you know exactly what to do about it. That's the difference between people who get blindsided by this stuff and people who see it coming. It's not income, it's not luck, it's information. And now you have it. If this video helped you see money differently, subscribe, because I break down these invisible financial traps every single week so you can protect what you earn. I'll see you in the next one.